Behold, I create new heavens and a new earth, and the former shall not be remembered, nor come into mind. But be ye glad and rejoice forever in that which I create. For behold, I create Jerusalem a rejoicing, and her people a joy. And I will rejoice in Jerusalem, and joy in my people. And the voice of weeping shall be no more heard in her, nor the voice of crying.
All right, Shalom. First and foremost, I would like to give all praise, honor, and glory unto Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shah, Bahashem, Rakakwadash. Double honors unto the apostles and the elders of GMS who rule well, teach well, being great examples to his younger brothers. And peace and blessings, salutations to the hopeful lake out there pushing his word and truth and in sincerity across the four winds in the name of Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shah, Bahashem, Rakakwadash. Double honors to the apostles and the elders of GMS who rule well, teach well, being great examples to his younger brothers. And peace and blessings, salutations to the hopeful lake out there pushing his word and truth and in sincerity across the four winds in the name of Yahweh Bashem Al Shai, pushing to get up out of here. Shalom to the hopeful lake, the believers, the listeners whom have came back to the obedience of the scriptures through faith in Yahweh Bashem Al Shai. All right, and what I want to get into today, okay, is dealing with the concept, of, pulling the rug versus a sure foundation. Okay, the rug pull versus a sure foundation. All right, and that's the difference between the elect, all right, the hopeful elect and the non-elect. All right, the 2/3 of our people, okay, they're standing, okay, on the rug that's going to get pulled. And we're seeing an example of that now. This system, this old system is like a rug, okay, that's finna be pulled from up under them. All right, and it's something that they depend on, that they trust in, okay, and it's finna be pulled. But those that's the hopeful elect that's building, all right, on that sure foundation of Yahweh Shai, we're finna be established forever. By Barazazah, we continue. All right, you brothers, all right, and you sincere sisters, all right, we continue where we're building on the sure foundation of Yahweh Shai, and we're about to be established forever. Okay, now let's get this real quick. I looked it up just to go into that term, that meaning, all right, which is an idiom. It says you pull the rug is an idiom meaning to suddenly remove crucial support or help from someone, leaving them in a difficult or unstable situation. All right, and we're seeing this now, because the EBT, the SNAP benefits, HUD, these things are just the beginning. Okay, because this devil's finna pull this whole system away from under everybody. Okay, and if this is all that you got, if this is all that you trust in, you're done. All right, you're going to be in a difficult and unstable situation. Okay, and that's what this devil, is doing. It's starting off with, the government dependence, and then it's going to go into, the everyday working class. Even those, all right, that have, disposable income will be affected, because that disposable income comes from this system, okay, this old system, which is likened to a rug, okay, that's going to be pulled out from under someone. All right, so just read it again. It says you pull the rug as an idiom, meaning to suddenly remove crucial support or help from someone, leaving them in a difficult or unstable situation. It can also mean to betray someone or to suddenly reveal a deception. All right, or suddenly reveal a deception. And that's the point of this place being a trap. See, that's how a trap works. When you look at, how animals are trapped. Okay, well, the trap is designed to where it seems as if the animal, all right, is getting convenience. Okay, you might put a piece of raw meat, in the bear trap. Okay? So in the bear mind, well, this is convenience. Food that he doesn't have to hunt for. Okay? You put a worm on a fishing hook in the mind of the fish. Okay? It's a convenient meal. It's a convenient situation for him. You know? Deer feed. You know, you hunt deer. Okay, you set out, feed for the deer. In the deer mind, this is a convenient situation for him. Okay? And then what happens? The trap is revealed once he's in it. Okay? And this is what the devil is doing to this society. He's giving them this convenience. Okay? He's making it seem like this situation is in their favor. And then the trap closes, man. Okay? Which is going to be this sea hill. All right? That's going to be, this trap closing. Okay? Well, ultimately, it's going to be like, because when that trap closes, it's like I guess you can like the trap closing, to the chaos that the devil is bringing. Because you think a situation is for your convenience, and then it gets chaotic when that trap finally closes. And then he's going to present that sea hill as a way of loosening you out this trap, okay, of suffering, of chaos, man. You see? So going into it says, removing support. It says, this is the most common meaning. It can refer to a person, company, or government suddenly withdrawing financial help, a job opportunity, or any other form of essential assistance. Okay, this is what we're seeing. And they fatten you up. Okay, by getting you dependent on them. The payments come in like clockwork, or because it's the same thing with a job. You've been working a job for years, decades. All right, those payments, got benefits, you got 401k, you got all these things going for you, and that paycheck hit every week. Okay, because that's gonna be the next wave. You see, we're all gonna be affected by this, but see, we're built on a sure foundation. We're not built on this world. We use this world, but we understand that this world ain't the end all be all. This current situation ain't the end all be all. We have faith, all right, in something better. And it says, let's go here. It says, betrayal or deception. It said the idiom can be used to describe a situation where a person is suddenly betrayed or has their false expectations shattered. And what's one thing about these people, these American people, they feel betrayed by their government, which they are. Okay, and the expectations that people have, this American dream. Okay, this this middle class fantasy. Okay, this comfortable, middle class fantasy, this expectation that they have. Well now, all right, it's being shattered. Okay, we're seeing expectations being shattered. You see, because even before, this whole thing with the SNAP and HUD, okay, you had a major outcry, all right, of people not being able to afford anything, not even being afford to live. You see? So we're seeing people expectations being shattered, all right? It says, unexpected negative outcome. It says it can describe any event that abruptly changes a situation for the worse in a way that is surprising and destabilizing. This is all the things that we're seeing. Okay, things are gonna continue to change abruptly for the worse. Okay, in a surprising and destabilizing fashion, man. So what we're seeing is the biggest rug pull on the earth. Okay, by these devils scrapping this old system. Okay, trying to establish a new. So let's go here. Get a couple precepts. It's the book of Isaiah. chapter 30, verse 12. And this is to our people that don't believe. They refuse, to build on the foundation of Yahushua, okay, and continue on in their trust in Egypt. Okay, so this is all right. This is a message to them. All right, when you read Isaiah 30 and 12, it said, "Wherefore thus saith the Holy One of Israel, because you despise this word and trust in oppression and perverseness and stay thereon." See how people despise this word, which means they despise Yahushua. They despise the sure foundation. Okay, our people despise the sure foundation. What we're building in Yahushua is a sure foundation, man. This where it's at. Okay, and it begins with obedience. And see, the obedience in Yahushua benefits us. Okay, obeying our power benefits us in every way. Okay, but you have our people, who have grown so accustomed, okay, to leaning on this system because of the instant results. And that's one thing, building on Yahushua is delayed gratifications. And our people have fell in love, with these instant results. Okay, it's going to leave them, all right, in a very, all right, a critical position, unstable, okay, unprotected position when they need it the most. You see, this is what you people finna understand. Your everything that you believe in and have built on in society is going to fail you when you need it the most. Okay, Isaiah 30 and 12 again said, "Wherefore thus said the Lord, all right, the Holy One of Israel, because ye despise this word and trust in oppression." All right, you trust in the oppressive system. All right, here it is. The system was designed to oppress you. All right, to put you in the worst predicament ever, especially the tribes. This system has bamboozled everyone. Okay, but especially the tribes. It's especially meant for the tribes to be in the worst predicament ever. Okay, because Esau doesn't mind giving you instant benefits. Okay, to destroy you in the long run. All right, and that's what the devil has done. All right, with the way he has this system set up. And you go into this word stay. All right, look at this word stay. In the Hebrew is on sha'an. All right, sha'an. Okay, and it says to lean on, to trust in, to support. Okay, to lean on, to trust in, to support. All right, and this is what we're seeing with our people. They lean, and now we're seeing how hard our people lean on this place. Okay, and not only these, these government benefit recipients of our people, all right, but our people that's entrepreneurs. Okay, our people that's 9 to 5. Okay, our people that's government jobs or whatever. Okay, they trust in this place. They lean on this place. All right. And we're told to use this world, but we know one thing. Our hope and our expectation ain't in this place continuing on. Okay. In our current situation, our hope is in that sure foundation of Yahushua. That's what we stay on. Okay. So these people, they put their full weight, okay, on this system of oppression, and Esau's going to pull the rug. It said, "Therefore, this iniquity shall be to you as a breach ready to fall, all right, swelling out in a high wall, whose breaking cometh suddenly." You see that? At an instant, like a rug pull. Read this in the NLT. "Calamity will come upon you suddenly, like a bulging wall that bursts and falls. It says, in an instant, it will collapse and come crashing down. Okay, in the instant it will collapse and come crashing down, and that's this system, man, that a lot of our people trust in, lean upon, put their weight upon. Okay, but this place is going to shatter instantly, man. The system is going to shatter instantly. Okay, just like that rug pull. All right, let's go here. Then we'll segue to the sure foundation. All right, but when you go to Sirach chapter 5 and verse 7, and this, the Lord is, merciful power. He's still having, this word to go forth. Okay, in the midst of all this. All right, this is Sirach chapter 5 and verse 7. It says, make no tarrying to turn to the Lord, and put not off from day to day, because the Lord's mercy is still open. There's still time for repentance, and that's why the teaching is still going out hard and heavy, man. The instructions of righteousness, okay, through the spirit of Yahweh Shema Shai. It says, for suddenly shall the wrath of the Lord come forth, and in thy security thou shalt be destroyed and perish in the day of vengeance. Okay, so if you trust in this system, all of a sudden, it's gonna be of a sudden, all right, that this place is just gonna be destroyed. Okay, and your security, when you feel you're most secure and you're safest, this is when things are gonna spiral out of control. Okay, so putting off, coming back, to the sure foundation, which is in your house shot, where you're building, on something that's not going to stand. Matter of fact, let's get this spiritual. That's Book of Psalms. I believe it's at 126. Maybe 127. Yep, Psalms 127 and 1. It says, except the Lord build the house, they that labor build it, and said they labor in vain that build it. Okay, so except the Lord Yahweh Bashim Al Shai build the house, they labor in vain that build it. Okay, except the Lord keep the city, the watchman, all right, awake but in vain. Okay, so if you're building on anything outside of Yahweh Shai, you're building in vain. Jake got this mind like he's gonna get some type of generational wealth. Okay, Jake mind is, chasing the bag, and all right, no matter what type of success you think you got, if it's built on America being up and running, it's in vain. Okay, what type of enterprise you got going? Okay, how many businesses you have going? Okay, how much assets you have? Okay, within this system. Well, guess what? All this in vain. Okay, because the Lord's finna tear this place down. He's in that time where he's finna throw down. All right, anything that's built within the kingdom of Esau is built in vain. Okay, these things are not gonna stand. All right, and if you're watching, going back to if you watch, for this place to prosper, well, you watch it, but in vain. If you're looking at the news in the hopes of, America rebounding, things getting back to some type of normalcy, well, you're watching in vain. If that's your expectation, we're watching for the complete and utter destruction of this place, man. So let's go from there, because what are we built on? This is the book of Isaiah 28, okay, and 16. All right. It said, therefore, thus said the Lord power, behold, I lay in Zion for a foundation, a stone. Okay, and this is for Israel. Okay, a tried stone, a precious cornerstone, Yahushua, a sure foundation. He that believeth shall not make haste, man. So we're not gonna have to make haste. You see how people making haste and panicking, when they hear certain news go forth. People are in a panic and an uproar, resulting to looting and robbing or whatever. Okay, they're still making haste because they're not built on their sure foundation. Because even brothers, and sisters that have those benefits. All right, they know, if you believe or you're a believer, all right, you don't have to make haste. You see, okay, what I need to do next in the spirit. Okay, because moves got to be made, adjustments got to be made. You got to pivot. Okay, but it's not a thing of, it's a crisis. See, these things are a crisis to them because they don't have a sure foundation. Okay, if you build something and it's not stable, okay, well, guess what? A 20-mile-per-hour wind is a crisis to you. Okay, if you build something and it's solid and it's built to endure, well, a 20-mile-per-hour wind is not a crisis to you. You're built to endure that. You built something to endure that. Oh, so this is what the Lord is building. Okay, with the believers, He's building something. All right, He's building us to endure this storm. You see, on that sure foundation. That's why you have this here. And it shows you the duality of that. All right, this is Luke chapter 6, verse 40. All right, this is Luke 6 and 46, and says, "And why call ye me Lord, Lord, and do not the things which I say?" Okay, so our people, they have this culture, all right, where they, confess, to be believers, and they all about the Bible. Okay, but when it comes to the obedience and the discipline of the scriptures, they don't want nothing to do with it. They despise the obedience and the order and the discipline of the scriptures. Okay, it says, "Whosoever cometh to me and heareth my saying, so I can hear my sayings and doeth them, I will show you to whom he is like." Okay, so the true believers, that really, all right, repent. Okay, coming to the obedience of the scriptures. Okay, Yahushua said, "I'm gonna show you what these are like." Okay, he is like a man which builded an house and dig deep and laid the foundation on a rock. And who is that rock? Yahushua. So every day we're adding, to the building on this rock of Yahushua. Okay, we're making this building a little more sturdy. The Lord is constantly sending faith boosters. So as we're building on Yahushua, all right, every day we're constantly getting more and more sturdy. We're constantly, we're constantly being stabilized and built to endure by the Spirit. Okay, it says, "And when the flood arose," which these times that we're coming into, man, we're coming into some stormy times. Okay, we're finna see some very unstable times. Okay, because you go into a storm where the storm is like a destabilizer. You have the hard rain, the winds, okay, the lightning. So you have all these different events happening at the same time, and that's the times we're coming into, man. It says, "The screen beat vehemently upon the house and could not shake it, for it was founded upon a rock," man. So we're going to be in the midst of the storm, but the difference is we're built on the rock of Yahushua, the sure foundation. And ultimately, the enemy coming in like a flood, Esau, he's going to be, as the scripture say, those proud waters in this storm. That's going to try to overwhelm us, man. All right, Luke 6:49 says, "But he that heareth and doeth not is like a man that without a foundation built an house upon the earth, against which the stream did beat vehemently, and immediately it fell, and the ruin of that house was great." All right, immediately it fell. Because when Esau pulls the rug, okay, we're gonna see our people in dire straits quick. It ain't gonna take long. Our people gonna be in dire straits quick. You let this man not start giving these benefits back out. Okay, you let this man start replacing millions of jobs with AI, man. Okay, it's not gonna take long for our people to be in dire straits. They're trusting in this man. They're gonna collapse immediately. Everything that they built, all the time and energy that they put in this system, is gonna collapse immediately, man. So Lord will, we remain upon this sure foundation, which is Yahweh Shai. So Lord will, you brothers, all right, and you sisters was edified. Till next time I say Shalom. Kwam Yashala. Abba soon. Shalom.